My BF, 27M, was inappropriately texting another woman while I, 25F, was miscarrying his child. Background: my partner, 27M, and I, 25F, have been in a relationship for the past 4 years. We have never had any problems with lying or infidelity before this incident, as far as I know of, and have always been close. When we met 4 years ago, he had messaged me off of social media and we started to hang out, becoming more and more inseparable. Ever since we made it official, we have not been apart for the past 4 years. Him and I are very much introverted and work many hours. Individually, we usually going out no more than twice a month with friends, which has never caused conflict as we both preferred to spend any extra time with each other. I have never had any idea that he might be cheating on me, didn't think it was even possible with his lack of skill in game. Well, let's get into it. Growing up, I've always had many medical problems. Just for reference, I have gotten 2 laparoscopic surgeries in my life due to a disorder called endometriosis. These surgeries along with my disorder has caused a lot of scar tissue, causing my chances of getting pregnant to be very slim. On top of that, I have been on birth control since I was 14, so getting pregnant was never a concern of mine. One night while I was at work, I started to feel immense pain. Despite always being in chronic pain my whole life, I knew something was wrong right away. I ended up finishing my shift, because I am stubborn, but then went to the hospital afterwards. I ended up waiting in the hospital waiting room from 8 p.m. until I was able to be seen at about 1 a.m. My boyfriend expressed he was too tired to leave the house and told me it's not that big of a deal if he comes. He even tried to convince me to wait a few days, to see if I would feel better before going. I was in so much pain I drove myself and went without him. After an ultrasound, urine, blood tests, and physical examination, it was determined at that time I was about 10 weeks going through a miscarriage. I was basically given localized anesthesia, a D&C, a mental exam, some painkillers, and sent home. Not even 48 hours later, I was back at work and pretending that nothing happened. In the words of my therapist, I am very skilled at dissociating from my emotions and pretending they don't exist. Fast forward a month, I had consistently been back at work with my regular 5-6 days a week, 8-10-hour shifts. All of a sudden while I am at work, I get a Facebook notification, which is strange for me considering no one I know uses Facebook. I look over and see what I've always dreaded, the classic, "Hey girl," text. She starts off the text apologizing, going into detail, with screenshots, about how my boyfriend had been sexting her one night and she had reciprocated not knowing I existed. Apparently they had been sexting back and forth the entire night I was at the hospital. The reason she messaged me was because she had randomly started to scroll on his Facebook profile, and while he has no pictures of me, if you click extra details on his Facebook profile, it says that he's in a relationship with me. She was saying how she felt so bad that anything had happened between them, and that if I was in her position she would have wanted to know as well. For the next few days I admit I was just completely confused, in my head, anxious, throwing up, having panic attacks, and trying to process everything shown to me. Apparently I had been so distant he was starting to notice. One day I had came home from work and he was sitting on the couch waiting for me. He asked me to sit down next to him, and straight up asked me why I had been acting strange and distant these past few days. I don't know why, but my first reaction was to laugh. I kept telling him over and over, "Please, let's just have one more day of normal, please," because I did not want to confront reality, but of course he was too curious at that point. After a few minutes of silence, I just said it. "When I was in the hospital, were you talking to someone else?" "What? Why would you say that?" "It doesn't matter why. Were you texting another girl?" "No, of course I wasn't." "But let me see your phone." He hands his phone to me and says, "Here, look at it." I say, "So you are going to make me look for it?" That's when he realizes I was not backing down. "No, you don't have to look for it, so tell me, were you texting someone else?" "Yes, I was." At that point we got into an argument, him trying to make excuses saying, "It's just like interactive porn. I never actually did anything with her. I was just drunk and being stupid. We never actually knew you were pregnant, and how did we know you were going to lose a baby?" After lots of arguments and going back and forth, we had gotten to a point where he started saying, "I admit it was the stupidest thing I've ever done and honestly I'm just mad at myself." But at that point, could I even believe him? I have heard hundreds of crazy stories on so many subreddits, particularly the THT subreddit, and have seen so much advice and so much support. I never thought I would be here, writing to you all, but I am just needing that advice and that support right now. What do I even do at this point? Is couples therapy even a thing that could salvage this? Is there anything I could have done to prevent this? Any and all comments are appreciated. Please be nice, as this is my first time writing in. Too long did not read. My boyfriend of 4 years sexted another woman while I was actively miscarrying our child. There's just something so sleazy and unredeemable about a guy who can lie straight to your face for weeks, months. He noticed something was off and had the audacity to sit you down and ask why you're being distant. Then lie when you confronted him, until he realized you knew for sure. Then he deflected, didn't take full responsibility and tried to minimize his vile behavior. This is the kind of man he is, at the core. It's up to you to decide if this is the standard you want to set for yourself moving forward. In my opinion, he fucked up multiple ways and each of them should be considered alone and in aggregate. 1. He sexted another girl. 2. He lied about talking to another girl when you directly asked him about it until he realized that he could not lie. 3. He was not there for you when you expressed that you were in extreme pain. 4. He belittled your pain and the traumatic event you experienced to defend his other shitty actions. He's just an asshole. You could not have prevented this because there is no reasonable circumstance for any of these actions. You can try to go to therapy, but to be honest, I would just break up with him. You're 25, and you have a happy life ahead of you with someone that would convince you to leave work and drive you to the ER when you're in pain. I would never have gone back after he left you alone in the hospital. That was a clear sign he does not care. The answer is simple. Break up. Every moment you are with the wrong guy, which you are, is a moment you could have met a good, right guy. He didn't even bother to show up at the hospital after you found out you were miscarrying? And he still found himself horny? And then he cheated and lied and still lied after being confronted and is still lying and making excuses? It's awful. You should not have had to endure that alone, and I doubt this is his first time doing something like this. You've just never had a reason to suspect him before. He couldn't at the bare minimum be honest. He wasn't sorry about it at all. He didn't feel guilty, no remorse or anything. You deserve so much better. I don't think making this guy into a decent human being is within the scope of couples counseling, no. Just dump him. 28 female, catfished my partner, 29 male, how do I confront him? 28 female, have been with my partner, 29 male, for 1.5 years. We've had our ups and downs and the good outweighed the bad for a long time. Due to different work schedules and locations, and other circumstances we don't live together and never have, but it's about a 30 minutes commute to each other and we have sleepovers, see each other multiple times a week. I never suspected him of cheating or lying until he started to be sporadic and sneaky about his phone, which he never was before. 2 months ago he was acting very weird, and went to the bathroom his phone on the table, and despite never snooping before, my gut told me to look and I caught him on Tinder and texting escorts. For some terrible reason when he cried and showed me everything and I saw that he didn't meet up with anyone, just talked to them, I forgave him. I had been working a lot at the time and he literally was housebound for months and doesn't have many friends. I chalked it up stupidly to boredom, wanting to look I guess, and he deleted everything in front of me. Well, obviously ever since I've been wary, but things were going good until a friend said she saw him on dating apps again. So long story short, I made a fake profile, found him almost immediately and started talking to him. And he 100% fell for it and immediately made plans with decoy me, was ignoring my messages and talking to the decoy, cancelled our plans to fucking meet up with the decoy saying his mom was sleeping over. IDK how to confront this. It's been going on for 4 days of chatting and honestly I feel psychotic and manipulative for going to this lengths. MF unsure if I should move on in silence and disappear, or be honest and confront him. Leave him, if you can. I know this is easier said than done and there is privilege involved. Block him on everything, delete the pictures and never explain. He will remember it for the rest of his life and it will haunt him, which later you will get a good laugh about, to be honest. I don't believe he didn't meet up with anyone. He found it so easy to lie to YPU and set up this hookup with the decoy. You don't live together. Hiding hookups would be very easy in this scenario. I did this almost exact thing. The mental toll it took on me, I embarrassingly stayed for another 6 years. I confronted him, he lied and denied even with proof. It won't get better, he's already checked out of the relationship. The more you put up with it, the less they care to hurt you, knowing that he won't have any real consequences. Leave and go, no contact, he doesn't deserve an explanation from you. Call him out and then move on. This is obvious. You have clearly determined whether or not he has the integrity you want. Message him from the decoy saying your girlfriend knows everything, then block him on everywhere. Make sure you get whatever stuff you have at his house first so you never have to talk to him again. The ghosting will fuck with him, which he deserves. Decoy you makes a date to meet him and real you shows up. Agreed to try therapy. How do I move forward? M35, F35. I am a guy that found a condom wrapper in his wife's car. You can read the posts and updates on my profile. The condom situation had a happy ending, but my initial reaction upon finding the wrapper was concerning to both my wife and I. We have a really solid relationship both physically and emotionally. In our 10+ years of our relationship, she has never given me any indication of anything other than 100% love, faithfulness and devotion to me. Despite this, my reaction was to immediately jump to the worst-case scenario, and it really caused me to panic and spiral. You can read the panic in my posts. My wife has been so understanding and supportive, and we have talked a lot. First off, she reiterated that if I ever have any concerns about anything, I need to talk to her. But otherwise we talked a lot about why this was my initial thought. We talked about the fact that I have always considered her just absolutely beautiful and way more attractive than me. We talked about how she constantly garners the attention of guys whenever we are out in a social situation. Movies, bars, restaurants, I constantly see the eyes of men on her. And with good reason. She is a 12 out of 10. I mean that in all seriousness. Guys are surprised when they see her and realize she is with me. I think, no, I am insecure, anxious, defensive, and lack confidence about that specific aspect of our relationship. She says I am crazy. She has eyes only for me, showers me with love, physical affection and attention when we are out. Makes it obvious she is not interested in flirting with anyone. She is unfazed and unimpressed with guys' attention or flirty comments. She says I am wrong about my looks and she thinks no man on earth is better looking than me. So here's the crux. Would I benefit from therapy? Single therapy or couples? Any kind of therapist I should be looking for? I am really willing to give this a try. You would definitely benefit from therapy. Individual would be my recommendation. This is a you problem, not an us problem. You need to work on your communication skills and your self-worth. Good luck, my friend. Update me. Although therapy can help, I don't think the leap you made was that remarkable. I mean, it's not like you found a phone number and assumed your wife was cheating. It was a condom wrapper. I know you trusted your wife, but almost every guy that has been cheated on trusts his wife at some point. And the idea that you should have come to her and asked her? Right, as if every cheater would naturally come clean if asked straight up if they cheated. Most cheaters, if challenged directly, would take that as a sign that they need to hide it better. I'm glad the explanation fit the way it did, but I still think your original suspicions weren't that far out of line. Absolutely. There's few people who don't benefit from therapy. Counseling is a fantastic and productive use of your time to avoid future issues. I hope you and your wife continue to have a healthy, happy marriage. Absolutely. But your reaction isn't abnormal, so don't think that at all. I had 100% faith in my partner. Loved that he was out enjoying life, and I quashed all my suspicions. If I'd found the condoms in his car first, if I'd seen the messaging between them was so constant first, if I'd noticed frequency with which he'd turn off his GPS, mutually agreed tracking for our own purposes, for certain times earlier. Your reaction is not abnormal considering what you found. You're honestly a 1 in a million where it didn't actually mean what you initially thought. If she's encouraging counseling together, go for it, but your reaction was normal. Dude, there was a used condom wrapper in your wife's car. Your reactions were normal. I'm glad things ended well. I figured they would. As far as therapy goes, I say go for it. It can't hurt and may help in ways you don't realize. Besides, if there is something that may help to strengthen your relationship or your own self, why not give it a shot? Try couples therapy and see what the therapist recommends. Even if the therapist recommends individual therapy, it would be good to have your wife there initially for support and understanding. I'm glad you are looking for ways to be a better person and a better partner. We can all learn to be better. How do I, M31, get over my wife's, F26, attempt on an affair earlier this year? Bit of context, we have been in a relationship for over 6 years, married for 3+ years. But earlier this year I discovered the texts that my wife was having with her coworker, F31. Started off very flirtatious, but it certainly escalated quick into the sexual side. At the time, I was very focused on my career as it was becoming very profitable. I have come to understand the abandonment emotionally that she was enduring drove her into engaging into this affair with the woman she worked the closest with. It never helped that I have a short temper which I still struggle with from time to time. I am by no means a saint. I've made mistakes, said stuff I can't take back, though I have never went out of the boundaries of my marriage. I discovered that even though allegedly nothing physical actually happened, my wife was engaging into sexual advances with this other woman. I've always known she is pansexual, though I had my suspicions of her being interested in the other gender much more, rather than mine. The suspicions materialized into facts when this happened. Ever since then it feels as if my world has been upside down. Doesn't help that I have previous trauma from a similar situation during my first marriage. We later discovered how much of a manipulative narcissist her coworker turned out to be. Luckily she got fired quickly and we have tried to move on since then. TBT, my wife isn't a bad woman. She is selfless, smart, beautiful, and there's many other reasons why I fell in love with her. Here's the kicker though, she is now 4 months plus pregnant. And as excited as we are about this unexpected surprise, there is still a lot of healing to do. We currently go to marriage counseling once per week. But I can't shake the feeling she cannot be trusted. We are not engaging into sexual activities mostly due to her pregnancy, but I feel so insecure I have lost touch with how to even engage sexual activity with her. Considering her sexual orientation, it's hard to even put myself in the shoes of confidence. In turn, I ask myself, how can I even compete? I'm not even the same gender she seems to be more interested in. I worry that this is just gonna drag our relationship further down, as it is not my intention to make anything worse. I notice how close she gets to me, rarely grabbing my hand and placing it on her as she lays on me. But usually after there has been a pretty woman on the TV, a sexual scene on a show or so. It's hard to conceptualize if I am just still so deep in my head with this or what. I understand there is a long road ahead, for the both of us, and this marriage. Especially now with parenthood around the corner, but still, I feel extremely lost, unwanted, and pretty much useless with this side of our marriage now. I've tried individual therapy. At the moment this is not an option due to my insurance not being great with therapy, and a pay cut that came shortly after the events earlier this year happened. I have looked for something similar to my situation on Reddit to try to understand or gain some perspective, with no success OFC, which has led me to post here. English is not my first language, so I hope this is legible enough to understand. Feel free to comment with questions, I will answer what I can. Also feel free to recommend any reading material or anything that perhaps could help me grasp my head around this more, or provide any help. Thanks in advance. I still love my wife very deeply. I still want to work in this marriage. I've been focused on the future that lies ahead, and I truly want to ensure her and the baby will be taken care of in every way possible regardless of what has happened. But it feels like it's a mountain ahead to get over this. It scares me, as it was due to all this emotional absence that I blame on the betrayal happening in the first place. I tend to isolate and just slip into a different world when I feel like this. And if any of you have gone through something similar, whether it happened much more recent than this, you're not alone. I can assure you that so far time has helped, it's just a hard and slow road. Thanks for reading. It's going to happen again, not now, but highly likely history repeats itself. Sounds like she won. She got to have a hot text affair. You basically did jack shit about it. She convinced you it was all your fault. And then she whipped out a pregnancy to make sure you don't go anywhere. And make sure if you do go anywhere, she gets paid for 18 years. She's been 3 steps ahead of you this whole time, and now it's too late. Sorry man, you're basically stuck with her at this point. Why wouldn't she cheat again? You've already showed you aren't going to do anything about it. I don't think it's up to you. It's really your wife's responsibility to prove she is worthy of your trust given her inclinations and behavior. It may not be possible. If it's not, then no matter how much you love her, you will be heartbroken within the marriage. It should be good to do paternity test when there is cheating on relationship. I'm so sorry you are going through this. Having been there myself, I'm going to recommend a couple of subs that have people with more direct experience with this. Surviving Infidelity and A's One After Infidelity, both are group with personal experience dealing with this betrayal that can help provide you with resources to process this. The first will most likely push you to separate from your partner, and the second will help guide you in staying together. Both are legitimate options in most scenarios if your partner has ended the other relationship and is willing to do the work of repairing the relationship with you. I hope you find what you need. Good luck. You're married to a lesbian and she's using you as a cover. Divorce her. She's a sick in the head for that.